Are you somebody who sees the big picture and tells it like it is? Then you'll relate to the Queen of Swords. Stay tuned and learn how to interpret this card when it shows up in a reading. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we are learning the tarot deck one card at a time. Today's card is the Queen of Swords. Most people find the court cards to be the most challenging part of the tarot deck, and I will do my best to demystify it here. I will be using the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. You'll find the link to the deck below, as well as to the many books that I've used in my research. So let's get started. In simplistic terms, the Queen is the mother figure of the royal court. She's married to the king and they have 2 children. The page represents their young child, and the knight is their frat boy's son who is off to college, finding his way in the world and trying not to get into too much trouble. In the Middle Ages in Europe, kings came to power through conquest, election, inheritance, or some other kind of agreement. They ruled people and territories within their defined borders. Kings were leaders and the ultimate authority, and pretty much the buck stops here member of the royal court. They had great power due to their position, and everybody knew it. Queens also had power, but it was quite different. Most, but not all queens, married into power, and their role was a supportive one. She got what she wanted through understanding people and working behind the scenes to get what she wanted. The queen was the nurturer and caretaker of the kingdom. She has an inward maturity and was generally admired by the people in her kingdom. One of the reasons that court cards are challenging is that they can represent 3 things. The first is a person. Queens were considered to be mature women over the age of 30. Depending on your age, a queen could represent your mother, grandmother, adult child, romantic partner, boss, sister, or any other mature woman in your life. The second thing a queen can represent is a part of yourself that is nurturing. And the third thing that a queen can represent is a situation that involves a feminine-like energy of support. The queen could represent any kind of mature, nurturing person in your life, male or female. For instance, I have a lovely male dentist who is almost 70 years old. He is extremely kind and empathetic, and I would put him and his dental treatments in the category of a queen. So how do you know whether this queen represents a real person, a part of yourself, or a new approach to life? First of all, go by the question. If it still isn't clear, look at the surrounding cards and its position in a spread. Here are 2 things to keep in mind when we discuss the court cards. First of all, don't give much credence to the ages, gender, or physical characteristics. For instance, a queen is traditionally considered to be a woman who is over 30. Does that mean that she doesn't represent your lover who is 25 years old and male? No, it does not. Secondly, and most important, look at the energy from this card. Your level of maturity is not based on your age, and it can vary greatly in different areas of your life. We all know super mature people in their teens and very immature people in their 80s. You can also be mature in one area of your life, such as relationships, and totally reckless in another area of your life, such as finances. One of the easiest ways to understand the personality of each queen is to understand the chart on the screen. Each member of the court card's personality is related to 2 elements. Here's a quick reminder of what each element means. Pentacles are connected to the element of earth. It's all about things in the material world, such as our bodies, homes, nature, or how we earn our living. These people are very stable. They work hard and enjoy traditions. Wands is connected to the element of fire. These people tend to be feisty, confident, enthusiastic, adventurous, extroverted, passionate, flashy, and high energy. These people make good athletes and good salespeople. Cups are connected to the element of water. This card is all about emotions. Cups people are gentle, loving, sensitive, nurturing, and feel things deeply. These people make good healers and social workers. Swords is connected to the element of air. Swords is all about communicating and expressing ourselves. This includes our thoughts about ourselves as well as our thoughts about the world around us. This encompasses intelligence, knowledge, truth, mental clarity, and our sense of right and wrong. These people make good lawyers and writers. Each of the court cards is made up of two elements. The first element is related to their rank. On the column down the left, you can see that all pages are related to earth, all knights are related to fire, all queens are related to water, and all kings are related to air. Each member of the court card also has a suit, and along the top of the chart you can see the four suits. Pentacles are related to earth, wands are related to fire, cups are related to water, and swords are related to air. As you can see on the chart, the Queen of Swords is a combination of the element of water and the element of air. The rank of all queens connects to water, which makes sense because they are the nurturing, emotional, mother energy of the court cards. The Queen of Swords is also connected to the suit of swords, which is the element of air, and that's all about logic and intellect and communication. So this is a very interesting combination. What happens to water when it meets air? As air heats up, it expands and rises and is able to hold more water. As air cools down, it contracts and sinks and can hold less water. This is the basis of weather patterns that I am not even going to attempt to explain. Let's just say that the combination of air and water have the potential to create everything from blue skies to thunderstorms and tornadoes. So we have the emotional, nurturing energy of the queen from the element of water, combined with air, which is about logic and quick thinking. The result is a queen who is emotionally sensitive with a very fast-moving mind. In this card, we see a queen seated on her throne and facing the right side of the card. On her gray throne, we see a cherub, butterflies, and a symbol that looks like two partial moons that are facing outward. She has a gold butterfly crown over her auburn hair. She is wearing a gray dress with an orange lining. She has on a cloak that is covered with clouds and has a butterfly closure. She has two ropes on her wrists. She is holding a sword in her right hand and her left hand is in the air. She is wearing red shoes. She has her feet on the ground and her head is above the clouds. The sky in the upper portion of the card is blue and there is a bird flying overhead. We can see trees on the bottom left of the card. In front of the trees, we see a stream. When this card appears in a reading, it may represent a person or a part of yourself who is smart, capable, focused, and extremely ambitious. It can represent someone who faces and speaks the truth, no matter how difficult or painful. It can represent someone who has experienced difficulties in her life and moved past them. Often this card represents an independent woman who relies on logic over emotion. She may be a single person, a single parent, widowed, or divorced. Let's talk about the symbolism of the Queen of Swords. First of all, the queen is sitting on her throne and facing towards the right side of the card. She is looking forward to what is happening next and not at the many challenges that she has had in her life. On the armrest of the throne, we see a cherub. Cherubs are basically angels on earth and are a symbol of protection. They can also represent children. We see a lot of butterflies on this card. They are on her crown, they are on the lower section of her throne, below the cherub, and also at the bottom. She is also wearing a butterfly clasp on her cloak. Butterflies, which we all know are previously caterpillars, symbolize transformation. This applies to the queen in a couple of ways. First of all, most queens start out as commoners or lower-level royals and marry into the position. The butterfly can symbolize that she is transformed from a commoner into the amazing royal that she is now. Here's what Pam Richards has to say about the butterflies in her book, Understanding Tarot. Quote, "Her golden butterfly crown shows her thoughts are inspired, calm, and gentle. Her words may be direct and powerful, yet she is focused and quiet. To her, everything is logical, everything has potential. She knows that from death, new life can come, as she has been through many transformations herself, leaving her with a stillness that only comes from the acceptance of life's unpleasant events. Her hair is light auburn, a sign of the fiery, passionate part of her personality." Unquote. In the middle section of the throne, we see a symbol that looks like two half-moons facing in different directions. Some authors believe that this is a double axe, and you can see a picture of a double axe on the screen. According to Wikipedia, the double axe was an important symbol of the Minoan religion. In Crete, the double axe only accompanies goddesses, never gods. It was only used in ceremonies and was originally a symbol of creation. Pam Richards thinks differently and proposes two other meanings. They can represent sickles, and you can see an image on the screen. Sickles are tools with a hooked blade that are generally used for harvesting grain. Pam uses the terms sickle and scythe interchangeably, but they are a bit different. The blade is similar, but scythes have a longer handle. When we think of the Grim Reaper, he is carrying a scythe. This carving might also be of a sickle moon, and you can see an image on the screen. These are the first or last phases of the moon's cycle. Here's what Pam Richards says, quote, "These are a sign of life and death and the changing seasons, and in one respect, the rites of passage as we experience life's harder moments. A scythe is death's instrument, which is used by an individual to cut down those things which are dead or not wanted, causing pain as they are cut from her life. The butterflies are all about what she has lost, endured, or suffered and has given her mental strength. This is all carved into stone, elements that she cannot change and which support her world view." Unquote. If the carving is of phases of the moon, this can be a link to the High Priestess, who is a card about understanding your thoughts through the lens of spirituality. Among other things, the phases of the moon on the High Priestess's crown represented the three stages in a woman's life: the child, the woman, and the crone or old person. Her throne is gray, which is the color of neutrality. This queen is not biased and will make fair decisions. The base of the throne is yellow, which can represent creativity, positivity, and protection. Let's talk about her clothing. She is wearing a gray dress, which is the color of neutrality. It has an orange lining that blends the passion of red with the creativity, positivity, and protection of yellow. She has on a cloak that is covered with clouds. This mirrors what we see in the card, which is a cloudy blue sky. Blue skies symbolize clarity, positivity, and nothing being hidden. Clouds contain water, which represents emotion, and in tarot, clouds represent the unconscious or things that are hidden. So we have a woman who doesn't see everything clearly. She has red ropes on her wrists. These have been cut off. According to Pam Richards, they represent painful situations that she has left behind. Quote, "These cut ropes show grief, struggle, and conflict in her past, situations leading to a desire to be free of emotional pain." Unquote. We can see a red shoe under her robe. This represents passion, action, and love. She can move quickly if she needs to. It's interesting that she has her feet on the ground and her head above the clouds. She is living midway between heaven and earth. She has a big picture view of what is happening, along with a spiritual connection, yet she also has the ability to come up with and apply practical solutions. She is holding a sword in her right hand, which signifies it is connected to her logical, rational side. As you can see on the screen, all of the other court cards are holding their swords at an angle, while hers is straight up and down. She is holding her sword in the same way as the Justice card is, which is card number 11. This shows a connection between heaven and earth, as well as her intention to cut to the truth. Her left hand is in the air, and it looks like she's giving a blessing, similar to what the Hierophant was doing. The Hierophant was essentially a teacher, so perhaps she is sharing her thoughts with her audience. We can see cypress trees on the bottom. These are the same trees we saw in the Knight of Swords, and you can see a photo on the screen. You may recall from the Knight of Swords that cypress trees have a lot of significance. According to an article by artofmourning.com, which I've linked to in the description, cypress trees are one of the oldest classical mourning symbols. It was also known as the mournful tree by Greeks and Romans. It would be planted by a grave or in front of a house to warn outsiders that they were entering a place corrupted by a dead body. Romans would carry branches of cypress as a sign of respect, and bodies were placed on cypress branches before they were buried. It also represents hope as the tree points towards the heavens. So the trees, along with the storm clouds, represents that she has experienced significant sadness in her life. In front of the tree, we see a small stream. This represents her emotions. However, if you can compare it to the amount of water in the Queen of Cups, you'll see that her emotions don't play a big part in her life. Let's talk about birds for a moment. If you look at the Swords court cards, they all have multiple birds, except the Queen of Swords, which has a single bird. According to Johannes Feiberg and Evelyn Berger in their book, The Ultimate Guide to the Rider-Waite Tarot, this demonstrates that she has high-flying thoughts, love, and wisdom, and the ability to focus on things and to find the common denominator. This card is linked to a woman who is widowed or divorced. I think this is due to her strength and independence. She has clearly gone through some stuff, including mourning, and come out the other side. Some authors believe that this indicates a woman who has high standards and is not willing to waste time on relationships if they don't suit her. She's got other interests and is okay being independent. Marcus Katz and Tally Goodwin, in their book Secrets of the Waite-Smith Tarot, point out that this Queen of Swords is based on the Solabusca Tarot, and you can see the card on the screen. The Solabusca deck is the earliest tarot deck to illustrate all of the minor arcana cards. It was painted by an unknown artist and engraved onto metal in the late 15th century. I've enclosed a link in the description if you'd like to see the rest of the deck or learn more. Katz and Goodwin also suggest that the Queen of Swords is based on a character in a play, which was played by Ellen Tracy, who was a dear friend of Pamela Coleman Smith, the illustrator of this deck. The play was called The Vikings of Helgeland. I'm going to quote their book in the description. The character is first mentioned as encouraging her husband to war with scornful words, hindering efforts in peace, a behavior for which she appears to be widely known. Unquote. Other words used to describe this character include baleful, which means menacing, cold, scornful, bitter, suppressed, and controlling. She is also described as proud and stately. I put a link to some information in the description if you'd like to learn more. When this card appears in an upright position, it can indicate someone or a part of yourself who demonstrates power and authority. The Queen is brutally honest, truthful, fair, and follows the rules. She's not somebody who plays games or stretches the truth. She expects everyone else to play by the rules too. It can represent someone who is very intelligent, has a logical mind, and is an excellent communicator. This makes her a superb business person. She can assess situations quickly. She is great with numbers and good with money. Plus, she can see the big picture and come up with logical solutions. It can represent someone who faces and speaks the truth, no matter how painful. She is straightforward, direct, and tells it like it is. This is not somebody who uses words just so she can hear herself talk. She is an excellent communicator, thinks about what she wants to say, and gets straight to the point. Because of this, people might find her a bit intimidating, but they also respect her. It can represent someone who is unpretentious and does not hide her keen mind or straightforward approach. It can represent someone who has been through a lot in her life and has overcome a lot of personal sadness. This might include the grief of losing a spouse or child. She has overcome her sadness and has matured because of it. She is a woman who is now in full control of her emotions. It can represent someone who is truly an independent woman. She may be single, a single parent, widowed, or divorced. Here's an example of the upright Queen of Swords, and that is a fictional TV character named Jessica Fletcher from the TV series Murder, She Wrote. Yes, I am dating myself. This was a very popular TV series that ran from 1984 to 1996. It follows the story of a former high school English teacher turned mystery writer named Jessica Fletcher, who was played by Angela Lansbury. It is set in her hometown of Cabot Cove, Maine. This was a new type of mystery series because in previous series, the detectives tended to be male and pretty cold, whereas Jessica Fletcher was super smart, but she was also gentle, warm-hearted, and someone who related well with people. I'm going to link to the show if you'd like more information or would like to watch an episode. She is a wonderful example of a woman who is highly intelligent, independent, and also good with people. She was also a widow, which is something that this card is associated with. When the Queen of Swords appears in a reverse position, it can refer to someone who is harsh, controlling, or inflexible. It can symbolize someone who is illogical or lacks mental clarity. It can represent someone who is not coping well with grief or other difficult situations in her life. It can represent someone who does not value the truth. She tells lies and uses her excellent communication skills to manipulate people. It can represent someone who is judgmental, critical, cruel, or heartless. It can symbolize someone who is emotionally detached from a situation or so overly emotional that she makes poor decisions. Finally, it can symbolize someone who uses her intelligence to harm, criticize, torment, or find fault. Here's an example from my life of the reversed Queen of Swords, and it is about women who were harsh and inflexible, and that is about my high school PE teachers. First, let me preface this by saying that I am probably the least athletic person you will ever meet. Part of it is that I didn't inherit any athletic genes, and part of it is that I was far more interested in reading, writing, and music than I was in athletics. I also had really bad asthma as a kid, so I would get out of breath very easily. Anyway, when I went to high school, part of the phys ed curriculum involved a month of gymnastics. This was always a month of hell for me. I was 6 feet tall when I entered high school and did not have a body that was made for gymnastics. Yes, it turns out that there is a reason why gymnasts are short. To explain, I'm going to quote an article from Ask the Kosher titled, Tokyo Olympics 2021, Why Are Gymnasts So Short? Quote, the shorter a gymnast is, the easier it is for them to rotate in the air or spin at high speeds. It is hard for long limbs and joints to handle intensive training. It can also be explained by keeping a law of physics in mind. The larger you are, the larger your movements of inertia will be. Hence, it would be harder to rotate, and large turning forces will be required to generate the same number of acrobatic movements. Or you can simply say that flipping would come easier to short people. Unquote. I did some more research and came upon an article listing the heights of all female Olympic gymnasts starting in 1972. No woman was over 5 foot 4 inches tall. The shortest woman was 4 feet 6.5 inches tall, and there were many people under 5 feet tall. So I was more than 7 inches taller than the tallest female gymnast and almost 18 inches taller than the shortest female gymnast. So to get back to my point about cruel and inflexible teachers, even if I was more athletic, a 6-foot-tall 13-year-old does not have a body that could be successful at gymnastics. So what was gained from forcing me to do this? In my opinion, it would be like forcing a blind person to take driver's ed. All it did was make me hate physical education and also hate my body for betraying me. This was many decades ago, and I sincerely hope, for the sake of my tall counterparts, that things have changed since then. Here are some questions to help you connect with the Queen of Swords. Number 1. How do you feel about the independent nature of this queen? Is it something that you admire, embody, or aspire to? Are there times when you are too independent? Number 2. Do you feel like you do a good job balancing logic and emotion? Could you communicate better if you were more or less logical or emotional? Number 3. Do you think it is important to always tell the truth, even if it is difficult for the other person to hear? Number 4, how do you have difficult conversations? Do you lay out the facts or do you try to soften them? And finally, number 5, what transformations have you undergone in your life? Have you been able to recover from difficult experiences? So I hope this video has helped you to connect with the Queen of Swords, and please join me for the next video, which is the King of Swords.